We couldn't gather tonight without our next speaker. We both have Montana roots, even though he's from the wrong diocese. And we know many people in common, which gave me an instant easy familiarity when Bishop Thomas was called to be with us. Maybe initially the last place in the world he thought he'd ever serve. But it didn't take long. It didn't take long for him to not only call Las Vegas home, but to mean it deep in his heart. At the parish level, Bishop Thomas does make the rounds, but mindful that some of our parishes are so large, they might have 6 or 7 liturgies on a weekend. Some of you may not yet have had the chance to hear him speak. So I invite and introduce to you our shepherd, George Leo Thomas.
The day that I was announced and came down to Las Vegas, Father Bob met me. We went out to that iconic Welcome to Las Vegas sign, and I had my picture taken, and I sent it back to the priest in Helena with a line underneath the picture that said, "Pope gambles big in Vegas." Big mistake. Stuff gets on the air right away on that darn Facebook. I think it got to Rome because when I met the Holy Father last February, I said to him, "I'm Bishop Thomas from the Diocese of Las Vegas." You know what he did? He goes, always be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope. Tonight I want to give you a little picture into the window of my heart, going back to the year that I was ordained, 1976. I was ordained to the priesthood for the Archdiocese of Seattle. My first assignment, a very large suburban parish in Kirkland. While most newly ordained look back over those years with fond memories and sometimes rose-colored glasses, I do not. In fact, the memory of those early days of priestly life still evoke in me memories of sadness and self-doubt. I was barely 26 years old. I came from a sheltered Montana background, admittedly naive and idealistic, inexperienced and really unprepared for the realities that followed ordained life. I was assigned to a pastor who did not want me. He was facing his own struggles, eventually opted out of active ministry. But he wasn't the reason I was having difficulty. In fact, he ticked me off so badly that I resolved that I would not let his issues ever become my own. I was in a parish with an overwhelming schedule, a large grade school, endless baptisms and weddings and funerals and hospital calls and endless meetings. That was not the problem. I was no stranger to hard work, actually relished a busy schedule. It was not the adjustments to celibate life. I watched my siblings fall in love and marry the love of their lives and raise beautiful children. But I saw from them marriage is such hard work. I grew to love and cherish the celibate life because it opened up a vestibule in my heart to receive everyone with love. The difficulty hope came from an unexpected source, one I didn't see coming. Right out of the gate, I began to experience and feel deeply the struggles, the traumas, the sufferings that came upon our people. Bad things happening to good, faithful people. The vexing mystery of suffering, sometimes unthinkable suffering, for which I had few answers and for which I was woefully unprepared. I'll give you an example. Just months after ordination, a rainy October night, I was called to the family home of a young couple. Their 5-year-old son sent home from the hospital to die. The parents asked me to come to their house, bless and anoint the child, and the boy died while we were with him in his bedroom. I'll never forget the night, standing out on the front porch with this young father and mother holding their hands as the funeral director took the body of their little son away. And I'll never forget the 5 words that dad said as the hearse drove off. He said, "Goodbye, my little fishing buddy." I was frozen, overcome, standing on the porch, crying like a child, and all my years of seminary training did not prepare me for this grief, nor could I find any words to console this couple. But the story didn't end there. There is a coda, a sequel, and this is the reason for my hope. I got transferred the next year to the cathedral, and in the afternoon, the same dad rang the rectory doorbell. This time, he was standing on the steps, smiling ear to ear. "Father Thomas," he said, "my wife Jenny has just given birth to twin daughters. We'd like you to baptize them." You were here in our sadness. Come share our joy. It was early on in those difficult days from seminary to parish life that I made this most marvelous discovery. It was the lives of the laity, the lives of parishioners, who taught what no seminary professor could convey. Mysteriously and gracefully, our people taught me the Lord is present to them in their lives in every way, in good times and bad. And he speaks to them in the midst of deafening silence, over and over and over again, in every parish in which I've ministered. It was the witness of the lay faithful that taught me how to be faithful, how to hope. The faith of people, ordinary people, has led me to deeper and deeper love of Jesus and the mystery of his death and resurrection. As the years have gone by, now 45 years of priesthood, I've come to understand that our people are asking us not for sage words of wisdom in times of grief or joy, They're asking us to accompany them, to walk with them, to be ministers of compassion, willing to share deeply in their lives. They're asking us to be a connection to the church, a connection that you and I symbolize by virtue of ordination or by virtue of the offices we hold. They're asking us to be ministers of prayer, raising our voices with them to sing the praises of God who never forsakes us. They want witnesses of hope, willing to proclaim with all our hearts, with all our souls, what we proclaim in the liturgy, that by his cross and resurrection, truly, he sets us free. During these past 18 months, we've been living in a time of tremendous strain and difficulty, a period in our lives that none of us could have imagined. The statistics that accompany these days are stunning, and no one in this room has been untouched. In the state of Nevada, 358,000 people affected and infected by COVID. And 6,700 of our fellow Nevadans, members of our parishes and families, have been called home to God. And we're hearing that as the Delta and new variants are emerging in all parts of the world, it's now young adults and pediatric cases that are coming into our hospitals. These are people in our own families and circles of friends, beloved parishioners, co-workers. It was in his most recent work, Let Us Dream, that Pope Francis addresses the COVID pandemic directly. He speaks to us as a pastor, a man who has spent a lot of time on the pavement and in the noonday sun. I have taken what he has written to heart, and it has helped me move along in these troubling days and try to lead a diocese down a path that I've never gone before. The Pope said there is a basic rule of thumb in time of crisis. The basic rule is that you don't come out of it the same. If you get through it, you come out either better or worse, but never the same. We're living in a time of trial, he wrote. We can become better or worse, slide backward, or we can create something new. It is my resolve to come out of this crisis as a better bishop, and with all of you as a better diocese. It's my hope for all of you and for your parishes and for your families and for each and every one of you to emerge from these days better, stronger, and holier. We cannot and will not strive for anything less. In the first archdiocese in which I served, I became very close friends to a renowned doctor, a researcher. He operated on over 10,000 patients in heart surgery. He was a prolific author as well. And he taught me some valuable lessons that have served as a pathway as this path has become strewn with obstacles and enshrouded in darkness. As he neared retirement, Dr. Savage authored a book drawn from decades of experience as a cardiologist and bedside doctor. Every time he discharged a patient from the hospital, he would ask them hard questions. Why have you fought so hard to live? And following this crisis you faced, what will you do differently? And then he gave each patient, regardless of their background, a prescription for a happier heart. And he would say to them, never, ever again let a day go by without blessing God and thanking Him for someone or something in your life. Reconcile broken relationships and serve others in greater need. Tonight, I take that first counsel of Dr. Savage, and I resolve to live more thankfully and never again take anyone or anything for granted. For what am I most thankful? I look out here tonight to you, the ministers and the leaders of this diocese, the priests and religious, the deacons and the laity. And I want to say to you, you're a blessing beyond measure for me and for our people. During this crisis, you have remained dedicated and intrepid and creative, steadfast, refusing to run away in the face of a crisis. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the ways you have served and loved our people. I'll never again celebrate public liturgy without a heart that is bursting with thanksgiving to be in the presence of our beloved people. For me, and I suspect for you, Eucharist will never be the same again. Eucharist bursting with thanksgiving. I give thanks and praise to God for those who have come into the church during these difficult days and unique Easter season. The baptized and those received into full communion, 8 of whom are here tonight representing the community of the newly baptized. I ask you to stand up and let us publicly thank you. You are the church's symbol of perennial springtime. I give thanks and praise to God for Catholic school principals and teachers. You have worked valiantly to teach our young people in person and against all odds, inspiring all of us. Your dedication to the young has been beyond the call of duty, and we owe you a huge debt of gratitude for your witness and love of the young. Principals, teachers, Kathy, stand up and let us thank you as well. I give thanks and praise to God for the workers and leaders at Catholic Charities, the visionary leadership of Deacon Tom Roberts, and millions of people who continue to feed the hungry and clothe the naked and give shelter to those living on the margins. Deacon Tom, along with your staff, you're a blessing to us beyond measure and a living tribute to the power of Catholic social teaching and action. Tom and your people, stand up and let us give you thanks. I give thanks and praise to God for the new seminarians that have joined us, a number that just in 3 years has grown from 4 to 10, and now by January 13. A small number of our seminarians are here tonight. Please stand up and let us thank you. I'm grateful to God and to Pope Francis. We've been blessed with a new auxiliary bishop to help me in my ministry, to provide Episcopal presence to our communities, and to increase the bandwidth in my office. Congratulations, Bishop Gregory Gordon, our newest bishop. The night before he was ordained, I went to their family home, and Mrs. Gordon and the siblings are sitting around the table. And I thought I better let her know that tomorrow morning is a big announcement. So I said to her, Mrs. Gordon, tomorrow morning your son Gregory will be announced as auxiliary bishop. She goes, no! I said, but he gets to stay in Las Vegas. She goes, yes! I thank God so much for serving in a diocese that is still marked by growth and expansion. I go to these meetings of the bishops across the country, and I hear them struggling with closing parishes and amalgamating parishes and facing dwindling numbers of ordained clergy and religious. Las Vegas is a sleeping giant awaking right before us, and we're opening new communities. And we will not let the present crisis overcome our hope as an Easter people, a people bursting with new life. How good it is. And I'm so grateful to God as I look out here tonight at this assembly for the blessed diversity of this diocese. 58 languages spoken in this local church. A rich heritage reflected on the faces of our people. We collectively thank the priests and religious who have come here from very far away as missionaries and witnesses. They are living icons to the universality of the Catholic Church. Missionaries from Africa, Vietnam, the Philippines, Mexico, Latin South America, the Middle East, all representing all God's holy people, living, laboring in this favored portion of the Lord's vineyard. And we thank you for your selflessness and your service that is so enriching this local church. If you are a missionary from far away, living and laboring here, let us stand and give you thanks as well. To all of you, I would say, our Holy Father has left us with his challenge. This is the moment to think big, to rethink priorities, what we value, what we want, what we seek. And then he says, commit to make those dreams come true. As this diocese moves forward, we do face challenges. We face still an uphill battle and an uncertain future. But our beginning point is clear and decisive. We refuse to give in to the demon of discouragement or succumb to a devil of inertia. I ask all of you to do the same and not let discouragement ever rule the day or rule your lives. I'm painfully aware of the limitations that are placed on us by an uncertain economy and very sobering fiscal predictions projected to be 18 to 24 months into our future. And it seems like such a long time. But I'm asking you to do in your parishes what we pledge to do in the diocese, to select priorities, to live within means, and move forward with resolve and confidence. We know we can't do every good thing. We cannot do everything we would like to do. We face certain economic limitations, but we can be creative, and with the help of God's amazing grace, we can be a vibrant and renewed church. I ask you to walk with me. In these days ahead, I would like to place new emphasis on the potential that comes to us with continuing formation and education, and you will be the direct beneficiaries of this commitment. Connie Clow, Father Ron Zanoni will envision a future and work valiantly to provide new opportunities for you, our priests and lay leaders, to sharpen the sword and to learn new skills and insights. So much like what happened today with Father Paul Turner, a phenomenal day for our clergy, Father Paul, and a predictor of great things to come. We will support the efforts of Catholic Charities, and especially the stunningly powerful work among the poor and homeless. And we will support your new initiative, Tom, Loving Hearts, that amplifies the adoption option for those facing unplanned pregnancy. We will give new emphasis to liturgical renewal, acknowledging the power of beautiful liturgy and sacred music, and the power of excellent preaching. This will be the leitmotif of this diocese. Beautiful celebration, giving thanks and praise to our good and gracious God. On the parish level, I ask pastors and lay leaders to do all you can to also form the faith of adults in your own communities. Evaluate the effectiveness of your own formation programs for the young. We have some remarkably effective parish programs already in place, programs that will be shared as best practices for all of us to learn from. We have in our diocese an estimated 250,000 undocumented immigrants living and laboring in our midst, facing daily fear and anxiety that comes through confrontations with the INS or ICE. We will redouble our efforts in concert with the Diocese of Reno to be advocates on behalf of the undocumented and on behalf of our beloved dreamers, challenging our government to open up new paths of opportunity for lawful citizenship in these United States. My recent appointment to the Clinic Board of Directors will also give us new tools and new insights to be present to you and to walk with you on this journey. We'll continue our work to raise up vocations to priesthood and religious life. I will not rest until we have 30 young men in studies, serving a diocese that has such pressing needs. And I ask you, the pastors most especially, but also those in charge of youth and young adults, to spot emerging vocations to priesthood and religious life and courageously invite them to say yes to a call to a new way of life, laying down their lives in service of the gospel. And finally, we'll contribute meaningfully to the national and international initiatives that are being sponsored by the Holy See or by the USCCB, most especially as the Universal Church invites us to be a more synodal church. We will have some representation there and some new ideas that we can contribute and obviously learn from what is happening on the international level. And finally, the Eucharistic revival, starting very soon, to renew the Eucharistic hearts of our people. We'll do everything we can do to tap into the voices of lay leaders and to our priests as these initiatives take shape. And I've not asked him yet, but I asked the new auxiliary bishop to shepherd these initiatives for this Diocese of Las Vegas.
You can't say no when you do that.
It was Martin Luther King who said, in the darkest hours, he could finally see the stars. Let's search for the stars together and refuse to give in to the darkness that has covered the land and the earth. Let our lives proclaim loudly and clearly that Jesus Christ is the morning star that never sets, and in the words of the Council Fathers, the definitive answer to the question of the meaning of life. I say in your name, no to darkness, no to powerlessness, no to duress, no to inertia, and yes to new life, yes to new resolve, yes to Jesus. Rise up, Diocese of Las Vegas. We've got work to do. Woo!